Hello friends, and welcome back to Figure Study, where we appreciate the form in Transformers. Today we're taking a look at the last two bots from the Unique Toys Ragnaros set, and that is Rage, Winterchill, and Lashlayer. I didn't think the names could get more ridiculous. I mean, you've got Archimond, Gazranka, and Kalagos, but yeah, no, now we've got Lashlayer and Rage Winterchill. And don't think I forgot Unique Toys. This guy's original name was Broodlord Lashlayer. Ugh. So because I hate these names more than I hate Power of the Prime Slug, I'm just going to call them Vortex and Blastoff for the rest of this video because... I mean, seriously, this guy sounds like spicy gum that's being endorsed by Terry Crews, and this guy sounds like someone's ICQ Messenger nickname from back when StarCraft was super popular. Anyway, they're okay. I am a little bit disappointed with these guys as they compare to the other three that came out before them. Archimond or Brawl was excellent. Gazranka or Swindle was also excellent. Kalagos/Onslaught had a few problems, but was still pretty darn cool. And now it's just like there are some weird tolerance issues with Blastoff, and then there are also some extremely bad tolerance issues with Vortex. And I just don't know what happened here. I think maybe they tried to push them out too fast. I don't know. Now, you might be wondering why I'm doing a video on both of them at the same time rather than individually, like I did with the previous bots. That's partially because they were released at the same time. I got them both at the same time, and so they're kind of a set. Also partially because it saves time, because I really don't feel like doing two separate videos for these guys in order to get to the full combine mode. And lastly, they're basically the same mold. I mean, obviously, there are some major differences in some regards, but like the skeleton for these figures are the same. Like there are some mild differences in terms of like Vortex's cockpit transformation and some of the stuff that goes on with Blastoff, but really they're pretty much the same in a general sense, so I figure cover them both at the same time. Okay, where to begin? Well, I guess first off I will cover the accessories, which I do actually have on them, because I don't know, I guess I'm just super inconsistent. So, Vortex has his little wing gun things and his little gun pods on the underside there, and these would be fine, and I kind of like how they are designed to bend like that, but like they're super not in there well. I mean, you can see this one, even though it's pegged in, it's like it's really easy to just kind of bump it and have it fall over. So yeah, these are not really well done, and that's part of the tolerance issues, although, I mean, it's an accessory, but still, I like being able to store all the accessories in the vehicle mode. These are fine. Don't have any problem with these little things, but just gonna get those out of the way for now. And yeah, these guns, like, they straighten out to become guns for Vortex, but like, it's just a little bit weird, because it's real easy to kind of bump these out of whack, so like if he's holding them, they'll kind of turn slightly, and it's just, yeah. But plug that up there, and just get these two off to the side so that I don't have to deal with them again until robot mode. And again, tolerance stuff, like it's not that hard to bump some of these out of whack. That's a little disappointing. As for Blastoff, it's this big stupid cannon sticking up on top of the shuttle, and I hate it, and I wish that this stored somewhere else, like maybe on the underside where it's less noticeable, but it is what it is. And also it doesn't really peg in super well. So yay for that, and put that off to the side to get that out of the way. Another issue that I have with Blastoff is he's got his little landing gear or whatever, but like these are super loose. So it's real easy to just put him down, and if you just bump him a little bit, he just does that. That's irritating. Vortex, though, I mean, landing gear-wise, everything's fine. As far as things holding together in helicopter mode, it's mostly fine, except I have the same problem that MGO has in that this just does not stay together. Like, no amount of squeezing will get it to actually stay. Keeps just kind of pushing itself out slightly. This tab down here is not broken, or rather not a problem. Like, this tab is up here isn't broken, I should say, because after watching MGo's video, I actually filed this down before pushing this together, so now it actually like does what it's supposed to, and it doesn't, you know, it's not holding too tightly. But yeah, this still does not stay together, so that's a little bit annoying. But getting past all those little annoyances and just looking at Vortex's helicopter mode aesthetically, it's not a bad helicopter mode at all. I think it actually looks pretty cool. You know, it's pretty straightforward. Reminds me a little bit of Blackout, but not really. I mean, I know they're not really the same type of helicopter, but it just kind of gives me that vibe. And there's just enough little details painted along here that help to kind of separate things out, like along the tail there too. And then you got the red stripes on the blade in the rear there, which I think is cool, because when you spin it, you actually get to see a little bit of that red line going around. And they painted the landing struts, which seems entirely unnecessary, but they did it anyway. And of course, they painted the windows, and then they did that thing that I kind of don't like, where they left the front windows semi-translucent, but they painted the side windows, and it's just kind of like, couldn't these have just been painted? Because there's no point to them being translucent, because there's nothing to see in there other than just jammed up robot bits. But I will say, to their credit, at least this plastic is like a darker, semi-tinted plastic, so it's not, you know, super duper see-through. And has the nice large rotors up top, which is going to be difficult for me to spin, but let's give it a try. Whoop. Give it a try this way. Yeah. It's a little bit challenging to spin because I can't hold it back far enough. I'm kind of holding it at an angle so it doesn't knock against the table, but it works. So yeah, Vortex's helicopter mode is a helicopter, and there's not a whole lot for me to say about it, but I mean, it looks solid, minus this nonsense in the front there. Blastoff's shuttle mode I actually like a lot. The colors are completely ridiculous, but I mean, that's kind of how Blastoff's colors are, as I understand it, so it doesn't really bother me. I'm not entirely sure how accurate this is to the G1 character or toy or whatever, but it works. And it's a weird kind of like purpley pink and brown and light brown and gray combination, but it does actually kind of work together, because I think even though they're really strange colors, they're similar tones. And because they're similar tones, it still kind of blends together a little bit. And yeah, it's, you know, nice shuttly silhouette, and I like it a fair bit. There are some things that kind of bug me detail-wise on this shuttle mode. Like, for one thing, I don't know why, but this just does not want to properly go in, and I'm not entirely sure if it's got something to do with the ratchets and the arm joints or what, but like, it went in properly the first time I transformed it. Then I detransformed it to remove this thing, which we'll get into later, and when I went to put it back, it just suddenly would not go back properly, so I don't know what's going on there. Another thing that kind of bugs me with this is this panel right here, not because of the gap, but you've got this line that, you know, it's just a little miscellaneous detail here, but it just kind of goes down and then just abruptly bumps into this. It doesn't continue anywhere. Like, if you look at it on this side where it's a little bit more flush, you can see, like, it doesn't really match with any of the other detail, and similarly, you've got this bit here that kind of bumps into this and then juts up really quick. Like, it looks like that's supposed to be a clean line going across, but it's just not, which seems like a petty complaint, but then they've got this line going cleanly across here, and they've got this strip going cleanly across here, and they even painted this panel so that this purple line follows the line from this. So I don't understand why they couldn't just either keep that brown so that it follows that line a little bit better, or get it to line up a little differently. I don't know. Still, some nice little molded details in there, and again, some little bits of paint here and there to just kind of break up the monotony, which does work. Not a whole lot in terms of boosters on the back. That seems a little bit like, I don't know. I feel like maybe they could have molded the bottoms of the feet to actually look like they have rocket boosters. Or not rocket boosters, you know what I mean. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like a shuttle needs more than just these two little dinky rockets on the back. But that's what they did. That's how they did it. Alright, so do some size comparisоning real quick here. Which is going to be a little tricky because of the space involved, but see if we move all of this around. Can kind of see how they stack up against a Power of the Primes Deluxe. Now, unfortunately, because of just the setup that I'm currently using and the size of everything, I am going to have to hold off on doing a group shot, but can still do a one-at-a-time comparison. So here they are with Gazranka, which that was just a very bad and silly angle for me to try to do this at. Let's see. Yeah, there you can kind of see just how completely out of proportion all of this is. But, I mean, it's the Combaticons, so of course that's horrifically out of proportion. And here they are with Archimond, and again, totally out of whack, but that's okay. That's just how they do. And lastly, here they are with Caligos, or Onslaught, and I think I'm gonna need to readjust this. One sec. Yeah, that barely works. Yeah, Blastoff does not fit particularly well on the back. It kinda works, but not really. Let's see if we can get Vortex in there instead. Come here, you. And Vortex will probably just barely hang off the end there. Yeah. Oh, and there is the gun for Caligos or Onslaught. I forget which of these two it came with, but yeah, you get a gun for him with one of them. So, yay! Not that I felt that it was necessary, but for the people that did, there you go. Alright, let me clean this up. Alright, so that about does it for the vehicle modes, which, again, you know, I think they're not bad. They work for what they are. They hold together well enough, except for that crease on Vortex's nose, but it's okay. Now, for the transformation, even though they are more or less the same skeleton, I am going to be transforming them both separately, because there are some differences between the two, so I'm gonna take care of that, and I think I will start off with... Oh, I'll start off with Vortex, because he takes up the most space with those rotors. So, Blastoff out of the way here, and let's turn Vortex into a robot, shall we? Okay, that was not particularly fun. Again, there are certain things about the tolerances on these guys, like Vortex's arms and that cockpit thing for Blastoff. This thing. I don't know. I've seen reviews where this thing comes off super easy, and that looks great, but mine does not. It really, really grips on there, and it is a pain to get off. So I had to use this little thing to just kind of try and get in there and pry it off. It's just absurd. But anyway, now they're done, and they look okay. The thing that throws me off with these two, all of the other unique toys, Combaticons up to this point, Brawl, Swindle, Onslaught, they all looked very different. They all look very unique. Whereas with Vortex and Blastoff here, I mean, just looking at them like this, without even seeing the transformations, you can tell they're based off of the same figure. They've got a lot of the same design points, especially in the shoulders and the torsos. And that just kind of bums me out. I don't know. Taken as separate robots, I think they look fine. The color schemes are perfectly fine. Like Vortex has that gray and now blue, which you didn't see any of that blue in helicopter mode, so it's cool that that blue actually gets revealed now. And there are some nice details there, which we'll get into when we bring them a little closer. But again, it looks so similar to Blastoff's skeleton. And Blastoff is cool, except there are no new colors being revealed, really, which, I mean, it's fine, but it's... I don't know. But yeah, I mean, just going off aesthetics, they do look similar, and that's a bit of a bummer, but I do think they do still look good. Possibly a little too boxy in places. I feel like both Swindle and Blastoff should not look like they're more buff than Brawl. Granted, not a big G1er, not really familiar with, you know, how they should look canonically, but just in terms of the fact that Brawl's made out of a tank, I feel like Brawl should be beefier than these guys. Anyway, since we transformed Vortex first, we'll take a look at Blastoff details first, and there's a lot of little molded details in here, and also on the insides of the legs, which is pretty cool. Even a little bit of paint there. These possibly could have been painted, just kind of break up the color a little bit more, because there's a lot of gray and brown going through this guy, but it's fine. Not a whole lot going on there. They did paint the midsection, which is nice, but I feel like this could have used a little bit of paint too. And translucent bits on the underside for no particular reason, I don't think. I don't know. I do like the shoulder pads that they've got going, and I do appreciate the fact that the nose cone actually comes out, flips around, and pushes back up to make forearms that are a different shape than what you'd kind of expect, given the fact that they're made up of shuttle nose. And while that is totally a cheat, I like how it looks on the chest there. It does still look good. And the face is nice, and a very Blastoff face from what I'm aware of. It's not really effective that much with the light piping, but it is what it is. So, yeah. Blastoff does look good, and you can also see there's like more details on the thighs here. Like lots of nice little details here, even on these unnecessarily translucent wing undersides. But yeah, I don't know, just the body I think is just a little too beefy. But in a general design sense, I think it looks fine. Dare I say, even cool. Though that gun is a pain in the butt to peg in. Whereas Vortex, yeah. That is an ongoing issue, as I'm aware. Vortex disappoints me more than Blastoff, because, I mean, Blastoff, my only real gripe with him is this. I wish this was easier to take on and off. Well, to take off. It's easy to put on, but yeah. I wish that was easier to pry off. Vortex looks good, but is riddled with QC issues. Okay, maybe not riddled, but he's got a lot more QC issues than anyone else in the entire set, and that's disappointing. I mean, there's that tab in the what is now the legs that I had to file down to keep it from breaking, and it's still showing signs of stress, so yay. There's the fact that the guns just don't want to stay. And then there's the arms. And the arms are my biggest gripe with this figure, because when I first got Vortex out of the box, I actually had to go in and manually tighten these screws on the shoulders, because this little hinge here was way too loose. Like, I would just put it up and it would just flop down immediately. So tightening that screw did fix it. There is a ratchet there, but it's kind of, I don't know if I trust that ratchet. However, the forward and backward motion, yeah, it's not great. That's really not something that I think is acceptable for a almost $100 figure from a third-party company that has been doing this for a while and knows what they're doing, supposedly. And I just think that's ridiculous. And those are pinned, so I can't fix those with a simple screw tightening. It's very disappointing. And detail-wise, again, like Blastoff, it's got some nice sort of generic molded details here. I like the fact that even though the thighs are more or less the same, with like the slight difference of the tab there, they also are actually molded differently. So good on you for that, Unique Toys. And the midsection, like, they did a better job just in general painting details in the midsection of Vortex here than they did with Blastoff. Blastoff has like more paint on the... Actually, no, he doesn't have more paint in the shoulders, because this is painted on Vortex, so I don't know. But yeah, and they also have the flip-out panel that, I get it, this is meant to fill this in, but painting this almost seems pointless, seeing as how even with this panel, this still looks super messy in here, and I feel like that paint could have gone elsewhere, maybe, but I didn't make it. And again with the translucent stuff, which I just don't understand why they bothered to do that, but hey. And the arms are fine. I like that you can plug these bits onto the shoulders here to kind of bulk them out a little bit, change the silhouette a little bit. The face also, from what I understand, is relatively spot on for Vortex, also with the light piping. And yeah, not a lot of paint going on, but in enough places to call it out, like the faceplate and the sides there, and then this little stripe on top. I don't really know why this little air intake looking thing is sitting over his chest, but I think it's a neat detail. And I also do like what they did with the rotor blades, how they just kind of collapse and fold down and form kind of like a tiny cape. Little, channeling Blackout there a little bit. And I also am a fan of how the helicopter cockpit area folds up and around to become the shins, like facing up. Like that's cool. So yeah, these guys, not bad. I'm just disappointed with... Come on, let go. Let go. The hand is open and it's not coming out. See, Right, anyway. I think these guys overall are fine, but there are just certain things that are holding them back. And I feel like if the QC issues weren't there, if certain tolerances were a little bit better, like some things a little bit looser, some things a little bit tighter, I wouldn't be as disappointed with these guys as I am, especially Vortex. But I can't help but be kind of disappointed with these guys, at least in terms of them being individual figures as, standalone vehicle and robot forms. I'll deal with the combined mode stuff in another video, but yeah, these guys could have been better, and that's a shame. Anyway, let's scoot them off to the side. Oh, actually, no. We'll put you there, and we'll put you there, so that we can do some size comparisons. How about that? And first, as the standard size comparisons, you can see they're definitely big. They are, I guess this counts as masterpiece scale. Definitely bigger than a Voyager, but smaller than a Leader. And yeah, they are not small. Gotta give them that. Now, compared to the Legbots, they are roughly the same size, which I think checks out. But again, here you can see that first gripe that I had with them is the fact that, Archimon and Gazranka, or Brawl and Swindle, do look absolutely distinct, whereas Vortex and Blastoff, not quite so much. They still look good together, though. It's just they could have done a bit more to make them stand out. I guess it's a design thing, because they're both arms, and the arms, it makes sense to have them transform the same way, but it just bugs me. And then Caligos, or Onslaught, is much, much, much taller, so let's give this a little bit of a tweaking here. And yeah, you can see that he still towers over everyone else. I mean, that's, as it should be, but yeah. Also, another bit of a disappointment. The gun that comes with whichever one of these guys it came with, it has made it apparent that there are actually some tolerance issues with Onslaught's, or Caligos' arms. Namely the wrist, which if I hold this out, you can kind of see, like, I'm just holding it here, and I let go. Yeah, there's that, and then there's this. That kind of sucks. Again, this is, well, in this case, it's an almost $200 figure, and I just feel like the arms should be able to hold up a gun. And the gun's not even that heavy. That's just really disappointing. Anyway, I do believe that is going to do it for these two. There's Vortex and Blastoff. Oh, at least a little bit centered. And yeah, they do look good overall. It's just certain things I really wish were done better. The QC on Vortex especially should have been better. And I'm not super fond of the fact that the transformations for the two of them are so similar. I mean, it's not Orden Armbots bad, Albrecht and Hagen. They're pretty much the exact same figure with, like, you know, one has bird legs, the other has shark legs, and like a couple of tiny things in between. These, at least, the legs transform differently. The chests have like a couple of very small differences to them. The forearms transform differently, but it's still a little disappointing that they are more or less the same figure. And again, the QC issues, especially on Vortex, not good, especially for this price point. Anyway, that's enough complaining. That has been my look at Rage Winterchill and Lashlayer, aka Broodlord Lashlayer. Or, as I said, Vortex and Blastoff, because those names are much, much less stupid. I will be doing the combined mode in the next video, but this has run long enough as it is. So, what do you all think of these two? Do any of you actually have either of these, or have you been looking forward to them? If you do have them, do you have similar QC issues, or different ones, or none? Because none would be good. That'd be fortunate. In terms of aesthetics, are you fine with the look here? I mean, I feel like they kind of work okay with the full set, but again, I feel like they're just a little too beefy for arm bots, especially when one of the leg bots is a tank. And since there are plenty of people out there much more well-versed in G1 accuracy than I am, how accurate are these guys in terms of things like the fact that Vortex has the upside-down helicopter cockpit for shins, and Blastoff has his little nose cone chest thingy with the shoulder pads? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. And while you're at it, also feel free to like or subscribe. Any of those things would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye, though sometimes it can be a little disappointing when you get your hands on it finally.